Hello friends and only friends. I recently introed a video, Hello Friends and Enemies. No enemies came out of the woodwork. No enemies came and introduced themselves. So it's proven only friends are here. And we're gonna talk about my quarterly stats. You saw the thumbnail and the title, and we've done this at least 100 times. I've been here for decades. In this quarter, I read 75 books. I feel like that is such a nice number, like aesthetically. 75. It feels good. So in January, I read 32. In February, I read 20. In March, I read 23. That's the math. The sun just went down, so that was rude. Oh, do you want to see them all? I mean, you just saw them all, but now you can see them all again. Oh, also look at them all here in my monthly Instagram story design. I've been sharing all of my stats in little cards in my monthly wrap-ups. That's been fun and has kept me on track. So now I have all of these numbers. I read, out of these 75 books, 17 of them came from my TBR shelf. So books that I had like before the year started, things that I haven't owned and wanted to read. Only 17 out of 75. 9 were rereads. 3, I think, were sent by publishers. I read 21 library books, which sounds great, but also 21 exactly is how many books I bought and read in the last quarter. And then 9 books I did exclusively via audio, but I do have some of the physical copies, but a couple of them I don't. There's a few I couldn't re-reserve from the library, so don't count because there is not 75 over here. The sun's back. Okay, next thing. So obviously I read for myself, but I also read for content. So 49 of the 75 that I read, which is the majority, 49 were on my TBR, like things that I wanted to read, things that I picked up with the intention of reading and enjoying. And 26 were selected for me. So video specific projects where I read things I hadn't heard of, I wasn't already interested in, but like obviously I was down to pick them up for the video, which is it's a higher percentage than normal. I have been doing a lot of video content. I think mostly in March. February, I think I read everything for myself. March, I read for experiments. Speaking of experiments, transitions, they're definitely my forte. I organized these into stacks for like videos that I read them for. So we'll start with the most amount of books I read for a video, which was an aggressive 17 for booktuber favorites. This video gets longer and more books get added every single year, and I don't know how to stop now. Let me tell you about my 5 stars that came from that video. We've got Fina by Nino Cipri, Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, Severance by Langma, Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, and The Other Side of Night by Adam Hamdy. I actually should not call this reading booktuber favorites. It's book community favorites. While there are a couple booktubers here, actually the majority of my 5 stars came from Instagram favorites. I couldn't re-reserve Know My Name by Chanel Miller, but that was also a 5. Oh, sorry. Also the Frederick Bachman and The Way Home Gets Longer and Longer Every Morning or something like that. That was a 5 star. Next stack was for my mood reading video where I did just read things that I was interested in. I know there was a lot of analysis and talking. I'm nervous because I didn't kick off the video going, mood reading means picking up books you're in the mood for. It sounded like I didn't know what mood reading was. I was trying to dive deeper into it, and that was an error. Anyway, here's the things that I read for that. My favorites were Passing by Nella Larson, Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, and How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbui. Next stack, I read a bunch of books for this book, which I don't count as a book. I don't count as a book that I have read, but I feel like I probably should. I read most of the words in here, but I also read most of the words in the Thursday Murder Club, and I technically called that a DNF. So my favorites from here, no 5 stars. Wait, the one that fell, Binti. I was like, I know I was missing something, by Nydia Corafor. Then I reread the entire Wayward Children series in anticipation of the most recent one, Lost in the Moment and Found, which of course is a 5-star, and most of the rest of them were as well. I believe I placed this one in my top 3 favorites, so you could consider this a new favorite 5-star. Well, it is a new favorite 5-star, but like of the series, this is the one of my favorites from the video. Okay. And then I have my horror video. I read 7 books from here, including a short story collection I don't have, and none of these were 5 stars. Moving swiftly along, we had a romance video. I read 5 things. One of them is missing, and oh no, wait, why is it missing? Hold on. Here it is. And of course, I already took the stack photo that takes way too long to set up to redo it. I don't know why I thought I had read an audiobook for this and didn't own it. My favorites from here were Love and Color by Bolu Babalola and Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert, though neither were 5 stars. I think I gave them both 4.75. In my mystery series video, I do have one that's missing because I wasn't willing to pay for it, how much it was. It was too much. And again, none of these are 5 stars. So I guess my favorites are the one that I have missing, Good Day to Pie, and these 2. Then we had a Third Time's the Charm video where I read authors for the 3rd time. None of these were 5 stars. Can you tell? This is not my best reading year so far. Then I did a cozy mystery. Actually, my first vlog of the year was my cozy mystery exploration. I read 3 books and none of these were 5 stars either, but I liked them all. Oh, I also forgot Bunny. What is wrong with me? I also read this in the mood reading one because I was in the mood for Bunny. I'm never not in the mood for Bunny. And then these ones, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I vlogged. I reread We Ride Upon Sticks, and it was a 5-star for a mini members Lalathon. Started the year off with some romance reading just for me. No favorites there. I have read 3 things from a members TBR jar. My favorite has been Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kasulki. And then these 2, which again, no 5 stars to be seen. But I've definitely not been lacking in 4 stars. If you look at my average rating on Goodreads right now, it's a 4 for the year, which is very exciting. Granted, I have had a lot of books that I didn't rate, but we're not gonna worry about that. I have had 25 4-star reads, 21 5-star reads, which sounds good, but 8 of them were rereads. So not a bunch of brand new 5-star reads. I also just realized I didn't even introduce what this video is. I do my stats and then I tell you my absolute favorites at the end. So we will get to that. 17 3 stars, 6 2 stars. I haven't given out any 1 stars, but I did not rate 6. What other stats do I like? I like thinking about authors that I've read from before or ones who are new to me. So like, in my mystery series about reading sequels, so obviously I've read those authors before. I read some romance, quite a bit of romance from authors that I've read before. The rereads I've read from before, obviously. The whole point of the Third Time's a Charm series is that they're authors that I'm reading again. So all in all, 36 of the books were from authors that I had previous experience with and 39 were new to me. I really enjoy that balance. When we look at new releases, I always track this, though the first quarter I always have the least amount of new releases because naturally not a lot of books have come out yet. It looks like 7 of my reads this year have been published in this year. The horror has been a mixed bag. Like new horror hasn't really been doing it for me, but this one's a sequel and it's Stephen Graham Jones, so obviously it did. In total, I think I read 16 books that are sequels or part of a series, a companion set of books, and I started 6 new series. I don't think I'll continue in these ones, but I will continue in Fina and Binti and Dead Dead Girls and Gideon the Ninth. And then genres. My top genre this quarter was horror, which is not surprising. The next one in line was fantasy, though most of those were the Every Heart a Doorway series, so I haven't checked out a whole bunch of new fantasy. After that is romance, which is interesting because I didn't rate a lot of it very highly, but I took the entire month of March off from romance because I was starting to question my decisions. Following that, 8 books that are like weird or sci-fi, around 8 books that are just general fiction, 7 nonfiction and 7 mystery thrillers, though 6 out of those 7 were mystery. I feel like this quarterly update should assess my goals, but I only remember one of my goals because I didn't make a lot of really strict ones. But the one that I did was I need to read my thriller releases when they come out and not wait months to read them. And I have absolutely failed at that goal. I think by saying that goal out loud, I thought that it would make me motivated to read thrillers, but I do think I'm becoming a seasonal mood reader when it comes to certain genres, and mystery thriller is more of a summertime thing for me. Unfortunately, I have bought some new ones and tried to convince myself to read them and then didn't. So that's the update on that. Let's switch tones to the only thing we have left, which is my favorite books. Obviously, I just showed you all of the 5 stars. This is most of them. And the point of this is just to pick out the ones that I consider real favorites, the ones that have stuck in my mind, the ones that I think could end up in my favorites of the year. It's so wild to think. I just looked back on my quarterly updates from last year, and I had 5 of my 10 by the first quarter. 5 of my all-time favorites of the entire year I found in the first 3 months of the year. And at this point, looking at these, do I feel like the 4 that I'm about to show you will end up in my favorites? Like right now, yeah, obviously, like that's the point. But I don't know that all of them feel like all-time favorites. The one I feel like I would say the writing absolutely is one of the objectively best books I've ever read. So we'll start there with On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I always love Ocean Vuong's work. I think there's something so special about reading a novel from a poet. It just has the most beautiful, scrumptious writing. This is told in a series of vignettes or short letters from a young boy. Well, in a lot of the vignettes, he is a young boy, writing to his mother about his life experience and just everything he's ever been through. His mother cannot read English, so he's not writing it with the intent of anybody ever actually reading it. It's just his kind of personal diary working through his life, certain like abuse he's experienced, sexual exploits that he has been involved in. He's just exposing everything he's ever thought and felt in fragmented pieces. It's very stream of conscious, which I love. It's very honest and raw and shocking at times. And it's a lot of him questioning his place in the world, how his family has been treated over time, generational trauma, and feeling deserving of softness and tenderness and love. And I loved it. Let's grab the one that feels the most off from that, though you could say that this actually does have similar themes, though the tone is different. So Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. While I was reading this, I don't think I would have said it's going to be an all-time favorite. I have not been able to stop thinking about this book. And I feel like I have to be careful when I pitch it. I just don't want anyone going into this thinking that it's a literary masterpiece. Not that that's what I typically recommend anyway. But you know what, maybe critically acclaimed. I did find out who Jenna was, if you didn't read the comments of the video that I was asking. I have been since informed that she is the daughter of a former president of the United States and is like on this American TV show, or talk show rather. So perhaps Jenna and I have similar taste. This follows 2 women who went to school together. They have kind of a weird toxic-ish friendship, and one of them is having a couple of her stepchildren move in with her, and she's not prepared to take care of them and their needs, which are they combust, they catch on fire when they get too angry or emotional. And so she's hiring her friend to come nanny them, and it's a really silly setup. It's a weird premise, obviously, but it's not a particularly weird book. Like the plot follows normal conventions, and it's a very kind of soft found family where this woman who didn't have a great stable upbringing of her own wants to provide that for these children, and like comes to love them and accept their love. And I just thought it was so nice and so funny. This is the most I have laughed at a book this year. And historically, if you know me, my funny bone is broken, so that's a big win. Next up, I have to include Severance by Ling Ma. And this is another one I didn't know if it really, like, I knew it was 5 stars, but I was questioning until the very end if it was a 4 or a 5. But this is another one I haven't been able to stop thinking about since, and I want to reread. So in it, we're following a woman named Candace and a couple different timelines when she's working and first finding out about this pandemic. And then soon afterwards, her and a group of like 5 to 10 people kind of traveling together, trying to find a safe space to be while the world is ending. It's a pretty not low stakes, non-urgent, that's the word that I used, apocalyptic kind of story. It's a kind of satire because she is just still doing the mundane tasks at work and really focused on getting her work done, just keeping her head down and, you know, doing what she's always done, and how like people react to and don't react to a global pandemic, how there's so much focus on like hustle culture, and there's this romanticization of New York and everybody just like focused on their work and can't look at the world around them even when it's ending. It's a fun and frustrating book because much like Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam, which I also love, the focus of it is weird. The dialogue of it is weird. You're focusing on weird things that you feel like you should be learning about other things. It's not the most satisfying situation, but it was really fascinating. And then my number 4 is How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbui. And this is set in a fictional African village where there's an American oil company. It's obviously referencing real life horrors and things that are happening, destroying this village and poisoning the water, and people are dying. And the company has sent in this group who holds regular meetings in the village and acts like these people have a say in what's happening to them and that their questions are being answered. But what's really happening is obviously they don't care. They're destroying the planet. And you're reading it through all of these different people. There's multiple generations. We're going through a couple different decades of time, and all of these different characters' voices you get to hear from, including like a choir of the children in the village, which is just very haunting. As they realize what's really happening, that they need to rise up and change things, but how hard that is, and coming to accept certain things or fighting for the change. And it was mostly the structure of this that was so interesting to read, because not in a mystery kind of way, but it felt like puzzle pieces. Every single scene, we didn't get the full scene. Things ended way too quickly, and then we would jump to something else, and you'd be able to see the impact that obviously a certain situation had that you only got a little glimpse into, and then chapters from then you'd go back to the original moment and find out the full context of like a conversation or people arriving somewhere and something happening. I don't know if that made a lot of sense. It's a dense literary fiction, and it was beautifully told, and I want to read more from this author for sure. So though I had other 5-star reads, these are the ones that stood out to me the most and have been the most memorable. I read them all in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year, and most of them were because of Instagrammers whose suggestions I'm so glad that I took. Anyway, I would love to hear any of your stats that you want to share. You know, numbers wise, reading is not a competition. Don't ever place your like amount of reading above or below someone else's like worth as a reader. But if you have no other outlet to share your stats, I would love to see them in the comments. I'd definitely love to hear if you've had any favorites so far this year. What have been your 5-star reads? If you've had any, I hope you've had a lot of success. I'm wishing myself and you luck for even more amazing reading in the second quarter. And that's it for me today. So I'll see you again in a couple days, probably with a vlog. Yeah, fun. Bye.